Hello, and thanks for joining us today for this thought-provoking session with AWS and Siemens Advanta. Today, we're joined by the creators of the solution you just saw, Siemens Advanta. With us today is Lars Ointzen. Lars is the product manager of the Advanta solution you saw called AdvFlow. My name is Frank Kovach, and I'm the Global Partner Development Manager that works with Siemens globally. Now, Siemens is uniquely both an AWS customer and AWS partner. They use AWS technology internally and incorporate in AWS services in cloud-based solutions that they sell to the customer. Now, why is that? And this is really for several reasons. AWS has more services and more features within those services than any other cloud provider, by a large amount. Now, having the right tool for the right job not only makes it easier and faster and more cost-effective to migrate workloads to the cloud, but it also unleashes your builders to build anything they can imagine. And Advanta builds solutions for customers. Siemens is a very strong AWS partner. Siemens is a global powerhouse, and with more than 173 years in business, Siemens has more than 293,000 employees around the world. The company focuses on intelligent infrastructure for buildings and distributed energy systems to automation and digitalization in the process and manufacturing industries through mobility, and is a leading supplier of intelligent mobility solutions for rail and rail transport systems. They shape the world market for passenger and freight services today, and they deliver technology in the healthcare industry. So, for example, Siemens Healthineers is a world-leading supplier of medical technology and digital health services. At AWS, we believe there is no compression algorithm for experience, especially when it comes to scale, security, and performance. With that, it's my pleasure to turn it over to Lars to share more details about Advanta and the AdvFlow solution. Lars?
Yeah, thank you, Frank, for the kind introduction, and of course to AWS for the chance to speak here. And of course also hello and welcome to everyone who joined our session today on material flow optimization. As Frank already told you, my name is Lars Ointzen from Siemens Advanta Development Services, and I'm the product owner of the solution we want to focus on today called AdvFlow. So we're really talking about online optimization because we want to ensure that the production assets are in optimal operating conditions at all times. How are we going to do that? That is what we will talk about and find out during the session. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to be here. And again, thank you to Frank and AWS for having me. So let me just start with a general introduction of Siemens Advanta before we go into the details of the specific solution we would like to present. I will try to keep it short. This is who we are and what we can do for you. Siemens Advanta is a strategic business unit within Siemens that has been founded in April 2019. And our goal is to enable companies to unlock the digital future by offering end-to-end support on their digitalization journey. We have more than 8,000 employees in 19 countries and 89 locations. And as part of the Siemens family, we can draw from more than 20 years of industry expertise in IT and OT and innovation. In the past, our colleagues have already earned a solid reputation as a strategic advisor and as a trusted implementation partner across various markets and industries. And today we are serving external as well as internal clients from other Siemens businesses. And on the external market, we are addressing customers, especially in the market Siemens is already active in. And we are doing this independently or together with other Siemens businesses. A key differentiator of Siemens Advanta is the combination of deep domain knowledge, the strong Siemens technology stack behind us, and a powerful ecosystem of partners around the globe, partners like AWS. Our customers often ask us for support in the area of cloud and especially for AWS. And here we can rely on our strong know-how with over 70 AWS certified individuals, including 20 people on professional level, only at Siemens Advanta. So how do we usually act? From our point of view, only a holistic approach generates sustainable results. Solving only one parameter of the equation only leads to short-term impact. And as you can see here, our services range from strategy definition, ideation and business model creation, to service design and prototyping, solutions development and implementation, as well as finally operations. And we create a digitalization journey tailored to the specific needs of each client, end to end, with all capabilities out of one hand. And of course, projects can start and end at various stages along the journey. We could start with a short assessment where you are on your digitalization journey and what the most promising use cases are to directly generate impact. Or we directly start with development and implementation of a solution solving a very specific client challenge. And there we would help with the solution architecture, with full IoT integration, including various Siemens and third-party systems, as well as platforms, and customer-specific application and services. Last but not least, also change management is very important to us. We provide knowledge transfer from day one with customized trainings and professional change managers to maximize value by breaking up silos and adapting to new processes. Today, we would like to talk about a concrete solution that addresses the needs of our clients in the manufacturing area called AdvFlow. So what are our customers? Our customers usually come from the discrete manufacturing industries. They are factories, including production and logistics as well. And they usually have to deal with a high number of different product variants and therefore have a lot of complexity in their planning and scheduling processes. But the key problem in almost all instances is that they continuously need to increase their productivity. And that means in times of economic growth, they need to be able to increase their output. But what is even more important here is that they need to become as cost efficient as possible, because that is especially relevant when the order entry gets lower. So in order for them to reach those essential goals, they need to be better in the area of scheduling and planning. And not only in the week-to-week or month-to-month planning. Due to the increasing number of product variants, they become even more vulnerable to outages or changes of priority and need to be able to perform complex replannings of their production schedule several times during a production day. And therein, even for simple cases, lies a lot of complexity, where it is very difficult up to almost impossible for a human to come up with an optimal solution on such short notice. Because either the quality of the production replanning suffers or the planning processes take up too much time. So focusing on customer problems first before thinking about a solution is one of the key principles that we'd like to follow at Siemens Advanta. But let's switch over to our solution that we have brought today, adaptFlow. So just to explain it in a few words, adaptFlow is a digital solution in the area of advanced scheduling and planning. And we're at home in the domains of production and logistics and want to provide an efficient and flexible solution for plant and production leaders to speed up their production and meet their business goals. The thing is, what makes us different from competitors and what makes us different from comparable solutions? And here our vision comes in, and it is that your production asset will be in optimal operating conditions at all times. That means regardless of any disturbances on the production line, shifts in priority in your order management, or changes to the available workforce that appeared for a production shift, we continuously ensure that the production runs smoothly and in an optimal way. And to reach that goal, we put an emphasis to the following characteristics of our solution. First of all, we are live. That means we are talking about optimization in close to real time. And we do the optimization continuously. That means that AdvFlow runs always in the background and always reacts to new situations at shop floor level. And we're not only taking into account enterprise data, such as, for example, production orders. We use live data from the shop floor and the production assets for our optimizations. That makes us able to swiftly react to changes there, for example, like outages. And finally, as an additional characteristic of our solution, we're able to account for changing business situations, being it an economic downturn or an economic upturn. Customers can always switch between several optimization goals on a daily to hourly basis, for example, like cost efficiency, output, or faster cycle times. So to sum it up, with AdvFlow, we want to address the issues in production and logistics that we've already brought up, continuous pressure to increase productivity while also handling volatile order situations. And therefore, we have a solution that follows the Advanta approach from aligning digital strategies all the way up to operation as a managed service, and a solution that we can tailor to match the specific problem situations of our customers. So let's dive into how AdvFlow works. First of all, and what's important here, with AdvFlow, you don't have to change your already existing and working production processes. Those remain all untouched because AdvFlow is a digital solution. So here on the left side, we have the factory view. That is how we assume things working out in production in a pretty general way. We usually have a planning system where production orders are managed, and sometimes also the sequence of orders is derived. Then we come to the automation that brings those information down to the shop floor, to the physical assets where production takes place. And those processes are usually in place and working fine, but therein lies also a lot of complexity in the planning and scheduling of the orders. And then on the right side, we have everything that takes place in the digital world, for example, in AWS. And here we start with a digital twin because we need to mimic the real production in a virtual world. The digital twin can either be a mathematically correct model of the production asset, or it can be based on a simulation program. Additionally, we need an optimization goal to answer the question, what do we want to improve? And a good goal needs to describe what you want to optimize, but also describe the way you want to achieve the set goal. And an example for this would be increasing output by having an optimal production order sequence, taking into account setup times and material availability. After having agreed upon an optimization goal, we need proper algorithms to solve the defined problem. And even though we have a variety of different algorithms and approaches ranging from linear programming to stochastic procedures, the most suitable algorithm is always customer dependent to be able to really squeeze out those last few percents. So after having established a digital twin, after having set an optimization goal, and after having found the right optimization algorithm, how does AdvFlow work? So here we get the order data from the planning systems, and then we get the live situation from the shop floor. We both ingest those information into our digital twin and virtually recreate the current situation at shop floor level. After that, our optimization algorithms calculate the best way of production. Finally, we bring an optimized planning and scheduling back within seconds using a customized interface to the existing production processes. And then the production happens as it would right before, but hopefully in a more optimal way. So to sum things up shortly, with AdVFlow, we have a closed and automated loop from order management and shop floor to optimization and back again. The optimization procedures are always live, and we take into account changes on the assets such as disturbances, outages, or changes to the working force, and bring back the optimal way of production by the help of a variety of optimization algorithms and the flexible, cheap, and scalable computational power that AWS offers us.
Thanks, Lars. This sounds really cool, but I have a question. So what are the kinds of typical customers? What do they look like for this solution? And what specific problems do they want to have addressed? Can you kind of give us a flavor for that?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Our typical customers usually come from the discrete industry rather than the process industry. And I mean, at the moment, we're kind of evaluating whether it makes sense to transition also to process industry. But yeah, we really try to focus on the discrete industry. And there, customers often ask us about, what problems AdFlow can address. And I mean, so to break them down, our main problems that we address with our solution usually are either, for example, complexity in planning processes or bottlenecks on your production line, or maybe you got rapid changes in demand and need to do a lot of reprioritization. Or, for example, you have a high amount of failures and still stands. And those are the typical scenarios where we engage with customers to see whether AdFlow makes sense or not for them. So, I mean, speaking about customers, let's have a look into what problems our customers had in the case study that I've brought today from different Siemens factories. We are in Germany here, of course, in the area of manufacturing. And here our customer approached us and told that they had kind of a low productivity. And the reason for that being is that they faced a lot of still stands on the production line because there were often missing parts. So that caused a lot of waiting and inefficient production overall. Furthermore, they faced some bottlenecks on different production stations due to the wrong product mix that was brought to the line. Some product variants took longer and some other were a little bit faster. And this difference caused for an unbalanced workload at some of the production steps. And I mean, this situation becomes even worse if you take into account that they manufacture over 40 different product variants here. And we're also coping with a lot of failures, which then made any production plan obsolete in the end. So we have here a variety of different interdependent problems where it is very difficult to come up with any long-term plans. And this is exactly a use case where it makes sense to turn to an online scheduling solution, such as adaptable. And in this case, our solution was that we scheduled orders while also taking into account live material availabilities. And in addition to that, we are scheduling a product mix to optimally smooth out any occurring bottlenecks. Doing all that while considering changes in priority, all failures that might happen down at the shop floor level, and also still stands, and adapting to those changed circumstances basically in a heartbeat. And I mean, the impact that you can see here is quite significant. We were able to reduce still stands due to missing parts by around about 30%, leading to a much more fluent production. And additionally, we were able to increase the production speed by 25% due to removing bottlenecks from the production process. And what's also important when looking at those numbers is that customers usually get everything out of one hand, from use case identification to business case validation to implementing and integrating our solution to finally running AdFlow as a fully managed service, we are able to either take the full responsibility for the whole process or also shift certain parts to our customer when they demand so, which in my opinion makes up for a truly flexible business model actually.
Yeah, anytime you can see double-digit percent improvements like that, it's impactful and it's really significant. That's really exciting. But my question would be, does the impact really vary between customer to customer? Do you see this kind of improvement all the time? And then if there's a fluctuation, what are the factors responsible for that variance?
Yeah, thank you, Frank. I mean, that's actually a great question. And I mean, of course, the impact is going to vary from project to project, right? We can't guarantee any impact without having a look at the problem first hand. But I mean, here we try to add some representative figures to give you guys a rough idea of what is possible. But the most determining factor when it comes to impact, and here I have to be really honest, is how perfect is your production already running? I mean, the more you got things under control, the smaller the potential for optimization obviously gets. But other than that, I mean, a good baseline always is the more complicated things get, the more room for improvement there is. And what we offer customers here before doing a project is a rough estimation on the impact of advanced flow based on maybe a couple of test data to reduce the risk on customer side before we start huge implementation projects. So, I mean, I hope this does answer your question. Okay, now that we went into details how we apply our solution AdFlow to our customer environments, let's have a look at what is inside the box and how a typical AdFlow solution looks for our customer from a technical standpoint. And here we rely highly on the AWS Connected Factory architecture to bring data from the shop floor into the cloud. And what is important here, also bring those insights back from the cloud to the shop floor, which in my opinion is actually kind of unique. Here on this slide, on the left side, again, the customer world in the factories. Here you get a short overview of a non-exclusive variety of potential data sources, ranging from ERP systems for the plan data to the shop floor where we get the operational data from. And we use our very own Siemens Industrial Edge platform to collect data closely to their source and to their origin and run a variety of different services. We use our own AdFlow agent here at number 1 to manage source data as well as bringing back our results from analytics to the customer world. And there we have AWS IoT Greengrass and AWS Sidewise integration as connectors from field to the cloud, which are supporting our close to real-time case strongly. And finally, we use Siemens Say What on number 2, which is a company-owned implementation of the W3C standard of Web of Things to easily integrate data from the field using standard connectivity. Then, coming to the right side, we now have everything that takes directly place in AWS. On number 3, we manage all the incoming data from IoT Sidewise as hot data store and IoT Core as an orchestration service. Data are then streamed on number 4 to our AdFlow analytics service powered by AWS Kinesis. And as already discussed, AdFlow Analytics is processing all the information and suggesting optimal scheduling for production. And here, what I want to stress out again on number 5 is that we not only visualize results, but sending those valuable information back across the whole service chain directly to existing production management systems. We have the fully closed and automated loop of prescriptive analytics for our customers, collecting data from various industrial sources, analyzing and deriving actions, and automatically act upon those actions to come up, to an optimal production without any human interference in close to real time. Of course, all the data that are collected in the process can optionally stored in a data lake, for example, using AWS S3, and be visualized, as you can see on number 6, according to basically individual customer demands. So summing up, what do we get from AWS Connected Factory for our solution? First of all, we use AWS to quickly scale up resources to provide large amount of computational power to our analytics services on short notice. And this is how we are able to manage complexity and time sensitivity in our optimizations. Additionally, we can pick and choose from a fully established and easy to deploy architecture and tailor it to our own individual needs. And this allows us to only focus on our key competency, optimization in production.
Thanks, Lars. This is really very, very cool. I have a question relative to traditional methods versus this method. So when I think about traditional scheduling approaches using planning data, what do you feel are the impacts and the advantages to having a continuous optimization flow like this? And in traditional methods, we would do that planning, we would set up our runs, we would execute that to the shop floor, and we would kind of let things happen and tune at the shop floor. What kind of advantages exist when this is in a continuous flow state?
Yeah, I mean, as we talk to our customers, where most of them already have some kind of planning system in place, right? They basically all told us the same story. So let me just give you a short example. So they had their daily planning in place, and then only 10 minutes into a production shift, something happened that made this planning obsolete. And I mean, those events could either be disturbances, outages, lacking material provision, changes in priority, or maybe new orders coming in, or basically any human-related issues. And so here they had no real option but to plan their production on the fly based on their own experiences, but dealing with a lot of complexity and moving parts all at the same time, which makes it incredibly difficult to come up with an optimal plan. So in order for us to address these problems, we need to make sure that we are able to dynamically and automatically react to those mentioned events by continuously running our optimization. And to be able to do so, we need live information from the shop floor, the operational performance data. So this is really what, in my opinion, distinguishes us from any competitors. And that's really what we like to focus on. So as we are approaching the end of our session, let's try to sum up what we have heard so far. Here on this slide, we have the points that are most important to us. First of all, we are a digital solution that can either run on premise or preferably in the cloud to use all the advantages that AWS offers us and that we have already talked about. We want to achieve higher output in production through our real-time production planning and scheduling. At the same time, we also want to lower costs through optimizations of the material flow based on our variety of different AI and machine learning procedures. And finally, as I've already told, this criteria is our main distinguisher. We respond live to changes at the planning and at the shop floor level to make sure that all production assets are in optimal operating conditions at all times. So now that we've come to an end, I would like to thank every one of you for your attention and that you followed me through this presentation from customer problems to the solution that we, Siemens Advanta, have developed, and finally the learnings that we had along the way. If you're interested in some more details about AdVFlow, you can either visit our landing page or, of course, you can also contact us per email. And finally, I hope you were able to take something with you from this recording. And now we're happy to answer some of your questions that might have come up in the meantime. So thank you, AWS, and also Frank, for this great opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you, Lars, and thanks to the AdVFlow team. I really am impressed with the solution, how it leverages both on-premise technology and cloud technology and the industrial edge. That's very, very interesting. And I think it brings it all together and impacts the business, which I think is helpful. Thanks again for bringing this great case story to us, showing us a real practical example. Much appreciated.
Yep, you're welcome.